NBC 10 breaking news.
Good afternoon. I'm Tracy Davidson. SEPTA is giving us an update after several buses caught fire this morning at what they call a bus graveyard in Nicetown. Let's listen.
I'll introduce SEPTA Police Chief Chuck Lawson.
Thank you, Andrew. Good afternoon, everyone. So at 6:17 a.m. this morning, we received the first report of the fire at our Midvale Depot facility located at 4301 Wissahickon Avenue. That fire was noticed by some of our employees who work at a facility directly behind Midvale Depot. It's our Roberts Yard facility. They called the police desk at 6:17 a.m. Transit police arrived on scene within 3 minutes, and at that time noticed that more than one bus was involved in fire at that time. Transit police was followed very closely by fire department, who arrived just behind us, immediately set to work knocking down this fire. This incident prompted a pretty large response by local, state, and federal agencies, led in a unified command effort by the Philadelphia Fire Department. It eventually reached 3 alarms, and we have fire department personnel here to talk a little bit further about that. I want to say, before I turn it over to our general manager, I want to thank, and I'm sure I echo comments by a lot of the folks up here, thanks all of the agencies that responded. It was a very quick, efficient response. The coordination was extremely, extremely well, very effective, and particularly want to cite the local response by a lot of our employees that work out of the Midvale Depot. Kind of immediately started to work alongside fire department and moving equipment around, giving them better access to knock the fire down and help prevent the spread. So at this time, I want to turn it over to our general manager, Scott Sauer.
Thanks, Chief. So this occurred, as the chief said, at our Midvale district. It is our largest bus facility. The area where this occurred within the district is an area that we use for storing buses that are slated for decommissioning. What we had here is about approximately 100 buses that were slated for decommissioning. These are buses that have been replaced already and will be either sold for a nominal amount or scrapped. They're stored in this area for a year or less while we make arrangements to dispose of the vehicles. A total of 40 buses were damaged in the fire. Of those 40, 15 were prior decommissioned Proterra electric buses. These buses had not run in several years. SEPTA is involved in ongoing litigation with Proterra, and as part of that litigation, we've been continuing to store them on property. Since these buses involve different equipment than the rest of the fleet, a special plan had been in place to store them. We did this in conjunction with recommendations from the manufacturer. That process included disconnecting the batteries, draining coolant from the bus to prevent possibility of leakage, and ongoing inspections. I want to take the time to thank our employees, of course, who noticed the issue and reported it immediately, all the employees that were involved in helping to assist with the response today. As soon as we had received word of the fire, we moved a number of those decommissioned buses out to allow better access for the firefighters and also to prevent further damage. That effort was in part done by SEPTA's forces, but I also want to call out the Philadelphia Parking Authority, specifically their Executive Director, Rich Laser, City's Office of Emergency Management, Dominic Morellis, who's with us today. I called them first thing this morning, asked for their assistance. I didn't even have to get into it. They just asked me what I needed, sent over tow vehicles to help us. You're going to hear from Deputy Fire Commissioner Carl Randolph. We greatly appreciate the coordination and the effort on the part of our Philadelphia Fire Department. Truly world-class fire department we have. Everyone at the Office of Emergency Management, they have protocols in place for a situation like this. They sprung immediately into action, and we were able to really tamp down the amount of damage that was possible here. We're also coordinating with the City of Philadelphia Air Management Services and EPA on air monitoring, and we have a spill response contractor on site. For more on that topic, I'd like to introduce Philadelphia Health Commissioner Dr. Pollock Ravel Nelson to the podium.
Good afternoon. Thank you, General Manager Sower. I want to first start by saying how grateful I am to all of the agencies that came together to support the response for this morning's fire. Between SEPTA, our fire department, OEM, water department, and state and federal agencies that sprang into action immediately, I am confident that we have responded effectively and as quickly as possible. But we're not done responding yet. As you will likely hear from Deputy Commissioner Randolph in a moment, fire scene operations continue, and the Health Department's Air Management Services continues to respond. We have had our mobile monitoring van on site since early this morning, testing the air and allowing us to make recommendations about the safety and well-being of the air for Philadelphians. The van will be on site as long as it's needed. Because of that, we know that the air is still not entirely safe. That is why my recommendation as Health Commissioner is for residents to stay away from the area of the fire, and folks who are in that area to stay inside. Keep your windows and doors shut. Close the vents to your home. Our early testing while the fire was still raging showed elevated levels of particulate matter, both PM 2.5 and PM 10, benzene, ethyl benzene, and carbon monoxide. The levels of benzene that we measured were far below the permissible exposure limit for 8 hours of constant exposure, but they were still there. As the morning wore on and we continued to test and we're monitoring on a minute-by-minute basis, we saw that the levels of all of these pollutants have started dropping significantly. I am confident that they will continue to drop into a safe zone and we will be able to get the word out at that time. Thank you for helping us to get the word out, and now I'd like to turn it over to Deputy Commissioner for the Fire Department.
Thank you, Commissioner. Good afternoon. My name is Carl Randolph. I'm Deputy Commissioner for the Philadelphia Fire Department. And before I get started, I would like to thank all of the men and women of the Philadelphia Fire Department who get up every day and respond to these types of incidents. And I thank all of our local agencies that responded and brought this incident to a really good close. So at approximately 06:13, there was a fire reported at the SEPTA depot that they just talked about. And our Engine 59, Ladder 18, and Battalion 8 responded. They noticed really quick that this fire was beyond their capability of handling, and they upgraded it to a box alarm, which subsequently, when Deputy 3 was on location, he upgraded this to a second alarm right away. A third alarm was subsequently struck at 07:25 or 7:25 a.m., and that was approximately 150 firefighters, fire personnel. We had engines, ladders, special operations unit, our hazmat units, and all on the fire ground. There were no injuries from Philadelphia Fire Department or any civilian injuries. We did experience some water issues getting water into the plant in order to put this fire out, but we actually had a really good coordination from the water department, from SEPTA, and from our units to be able to take down fences and allow us to get our hose lines in place to be able to get the water we needed in order to fight this fire. There were vehicles that were in the way, and I think it was mentioned earlier that the Parking Authority and SEPTA were able to remove those vehicles to give us access to the fire so that we could actually extinguish the fire. And also, as mentioned, we still have companies on location, 2 engines, a ladder, and a medic unit, and they're just wetting down and helping as SEPTA moves the buses out. They're able to wet down, and so the fire marshal can continue his investigation. All right, that's it.
Questions? Yeah, questions?
All right.
Do you think that the fire, you don't know what caused it yet, was it the electric buses that were burning primarily?
Yeah, we don't know precisely what caused the fire at this point, but we know of the buses that were caught in the fire. About 15 of them were the electric buses. So of the 40 total, 15 were electric buses.
Scott, how many electric buses do you have on that site? It looks like when our chopper video, it looked like there was a 9 before all of them. Are the electric?
All the electrics are 9.0 or 9.1 in that sequence. There's 25 total electric buses. One was caught in a fire a couple years ago at Southern District. That bus is there on property, but then that was one of the 15 or 16 that were caught up in the incident.
Scott, for the decommissioned diesel buses, is there fuel left in the tank? Were you able to move them, or did they have to be towed? How were they moved?
So when the buses are fully decommissioned, all the fuel and lubricants are removed. The batteries are removed and drained. There were buses in there that were in the process of being decommissioned that still had fuel in them.
So for the ones that were moved, did parking authority tow them? I'm just trying to imagine.
Yeah, a combination of the parking authority's tow vehicles, our tow vehicles, and the Office of Emergency Management sent over a private tow company to assist us.
You see that there are buses there that sustain more damage than the others. This one that's almost completely burned out. Do you know if that was an EV bus, or if that was a bus with diesel in it, or any of
Yeah, I don't know precisely which buses are which at this point. As the commissioner said, there's still an ongoing operation. So we haven't had a chance to get in there and really assess all the vehicles.
Would some members of the public have access to that? Is there a potential that somebody walked on and decided to light something up?
Certainly there's potential that someone could access the facility, but it is way off of Wissahickon Avenue, so it's not in a public area, and it's adjacent to the railroad. So there's no walking paths or any readily available access to that location. We keep them in the back of the facility, as these are buses that we intend to dispose of.
Do you think, in light of what happened today, I know you're in litigation with Proterra, and I can't remember how many of those buses had fire issues previously, but in light of what happened today, are you going to do anything with the ones that you have remaining? I don't know how many are remaining, and what will you do?
Yeah, I want to get them off site. I want to find a way to get them off site. I've already talked to our operations people about moving them off site. We have to get them off of our property, away from the potential where we could have an incident like this that could have been far worse. We don't want to lose an entire facility, and more importantly, we don't want to hurt anyone. So we want to get these vehicles off site.
Not clear if the fire started in one of those ones.
Not at all.
15 of them.
That's right.
And is there still an investigation? Has it been determined whether this is accidental or potentially arson? Is that still being investigated?
So to answer that, no, there hasn't been. It's under the investigation of the Fire Marshal's office, and as I stated earlier, he has just not had the opportunity to get in and begin his investigation yet.
When you arrive, where is the fire? And when your folks arrive and see flames, is it burning at the front of the yard, in the middle of the? Where are they?
So it's in the rear of the yard when they arrive. So there's fire showing in the rear of the yard.
And the buses are burning when you get there.
Correct.
It's not brush. It's not anything.
Correct.
The buses are actually burning.
Correct.
And do we know how many SEPTA buses were on? SEPTA employees were on site at the bus depot when the fire went out?
At that time of the morning, we have a lot of employees coming and going because the bus operators don't stick around. They come in, they get their bus, and they leave. But what I can tell you is it is the largest facility. It runs 24 hours a day, and there's a total of 600 or so people that are on site at any given, all throughout the day. I don't know precisely how many were on site at the time of the fire, but it is a busy time of the day. It's the start of rush hour, so the buses and bus operators are coming in and grabbing a bus and leaving.
And I know you talked about the desire to get the Proterra buses off the lot as soon as possible. Is that because they have the potential to be more possible?
There should be no potential because they're all decommissioned. But at the same time, we had an incident at Southern. We know what that was. We know that was one of those buses. And now I have this, and it's just something that we've all agreed that we don't want them anymore. So we just want to be done with them.
And just a semantic with the decommissioning, with the batteries, you mentioned earlier that you drain them. Is that the same as de-energizing?
They're disconnected, so they're de-energized. All the electrical components are fully de-energized when we disconnect the batteries.
What is that?
Well, Frank, as a mechanic, why don't you come up and explain what does it mean to pull the battery off? Tell them who you are first.
You've been listening to an update from SEPTA and other officials about the fire at the bus graveyard this morning, saying that there was a coordinated effort in fighting that fire and the need to move the vehicles to get access. There is fire scene management still there, and the air monitoring is ongoing. I'm Tracy Davidson. We'll continue to have coverage of this fire coming up on NBC 10 News at 4. And you can always stay on top of breaking news by downloading the free NBC 10 app. We'll send you instant updates right to your phone as soon as we get them. Thanks for joining us.